What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg Miller, and this is the IGN live show, and good gravy do we have a lot of good stuff planned for you today. First and foremost, let's talk about walkers. Hey, everybody. It's Roth and the people who make The Walking Dead. You are the blood in this dead body keeping its black heart pulsating.
Well, I disagree with the premise. Because it doesn't pulsate.
Your black hearts pulsate.
Yeah, exactly. I know that. I know.
Drip. Drip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Well,
think it's sort of stable.
this is why you guys get to pay the big bucks to make the show. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
I hope you're ready for Roth to just throw you under the bus and ask you the hard-hitting questions about The Walking Dead.
It's about
big
to
fans.
go down.
All right,
No,
wow.
I was there. I was in the panel yesterday, which was amazing. Great response. I saw that awesome trailer. Everybody saw the awesome trailer because it's on the internet now. Let's talk about a few things that we may have noticed there.
Ooh.
Like that voice at the end.
Oh, wow. Pick up on that.
Is there life in this world? I mean, it seemed like in that moment, oh my God, this is the moment of hope that we've all been waiting. Maybe there is life after death in the apocalyptic zombie world.
Did you divine what was said? Did you
Survive. I thought they said survive. Something, I couldn't hear all of it, but I heard survive.
Well, that makes it. That's for repeat viewing.
Okay.
But I will say they hear a voice on the radio at the end there.
Is that not what they said?
What's that?
Is that not what they said?
No, they said something else than that. There was a little bit
Okay.
more than that. I can tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
Look, if you don't tell us, you'll be upset.
I like to drag this stuff out. No, those who arrive survive. That's what they hear on the radio.
Oh, wow.
It sounds like that sounds pretty. Yeah, it sounds hopeful.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That sounds limericky. Another thing that I noticed is that
There is a town of professional limerickers.
They'll hold up
Yeah.
when the zombie
They
apocalypse
get there
broke
in the
out.
zombie apocalypse,
Don't give
and they
that
have
away.
to leave. because
ruining
they-
the season.
Spoiler.
Another thing that I noticed that the new character introduced this year, Bob Stokey, seemed to be quite heavily featured in the trailer for a new character. Can you talk a little bit about how he's going to sort of play into the world this season?
I was going to let you.
No, go ahead.
Bob's a new member of the group, and he looks a little haunted in that teaser.
I hear he's a haunted alcoholic.
Wow, look at that!
There
Oh
you
no,
go.
in the books.
In the
Yeah,
books.
yeah. He definitely has a relationship to that character in the books, especially the Rise of the Governor, the Road to Woodbury novels.
Yes. I called that yesterday, and I started talking about that. And that going to be the same Bob? Greg Miller, everybody. Touchdown, Comic-Con.
And then I jump in and say, but he's a little different. He's a little different than that character, but we did take some inspiration from that. It's different circumstances.
Sure.
He does play a big role in the group, and
I don't think Bob in the book was black.
he was not.
He was not.
He was not, and he was older. And
It was old, yeah.
But-
Kind of a
but-
creeper. Remember when he's like watching him have sex through the hole? I was like, what are you doing, Bob?
well, you know,
If you
he
put that in
went
the
through
show,
some rough stuff. You know what? Actually, that's what. But not the peeperness of it. But Bob in the book went through some very rough
a
stuff.
lot of desperation.
Bob on the show went through some rough stuff, and he's trying to integrate with the group beyond that, and he might come into conflict with members of the group over that. There's another character in the trailer, a new character that people, it's weird, people aren't picking up on, and he's kind of like a genre guy. I thought people would notice him. It's this Kyle Gallner, who was on Veronica Mars, he was in Jennifer's Body.
Awesome show.
He's the new character, Zach, on the show, and he has a romantic story. That's one of the characters, and
Female.
Who's left?
female character.
What, there are not a lot of females left.
Well, some
That
coming
aren't
from
taken.
Woodbury at the end
Okay,
of last
that's
year.
true. We have
There
the
were
new-
not many under 70, but we'll keep it
He has-
interesting.
You know, we're not
World
going
of
to
art.
judge. In the apocalypse, love is love.
Kind of take what you can get, I think.
Well,
story.
Let's talk about Woodbury, because I know that Andrew Lincoln said that there was going to be an answer to the question that many audience members had, which was, why didn't you go back to Woodbury? Why are you at this crazy prison? And that's really exciting to hear. I'm wondering, was that decision to give that answer made in part via a feedback loop from the audience response of wondering about that?
I would say no.
No.
We're part of the audience in some ways. We watch our own show, and we knew the answer, but we knew what it would be like to sit there and watching it we would know. We'd want to know the answer too. But I will say, it isn't like the first order of business to check that off the list.
Right.
Okay.
And you hear Daryl, you hear them talk about it in
Yeah.
the trailer. You're like, yeah, too bad place ain't run anymore. So it's a great little tease in the trailer.
Let's talk about, I also noticed, and this is really exciting because something I talked to Gail and heard about last year was people sort of wanting to see a few more zombies. You know, I mean, this has been a great exploration the last season of kind of the human danger. But she said we'd be seeing more zombies. I definitely saw that in the trailer.
Yeah.
Wow. You did the season opener, Greg. Can we see some hero shots? What can we expect?
You know, what's one of the first orders of business when Scott and I started talking last year was our group's been on the run for a year. When we get to season 3, they've become very proficient at killing walkers. So what we didn't want is for that threat to feel minimized. So we've accelerated that and accentuated that bit. So when you see in the trailer, hundreds of walkers headed towards the fences of the prison, that was something that we consciously crafted because we wanted to elevate that threat level. And it was pretty astounding. We came up, the writers do an amazing job of coming up with really great gags that are integral to the story. It's not just like doing a gag just for the sake of throwing in a cool zombie or a cool walker or a cool creature, but everything's integrated. Everything has a purpose. And Scott wrote the first script for the first episode, and he wrote the script for Clear, which was the episode with Rick and Morgan. He wrote Sophia coming out of the barn. He wrote Merle's exit last year. So
Which Greg directed.
Yeah.
So we have a great shorthand.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is that those are some great zombies just in terms of visually the aesthetic, the look of them, but they also had such a huge emotional impact. Are we going to be seeing a little bit more of that this coming year?
Yeah.
That's the best thing. I mean, those are the moments on the show that I love the most, where you have an incredible zombie moment and an incredible emotional moment at the same time. Whether it's the zombie itself, just looking at the zombie, the story of how they became a zombie, and that's haunting, or something as much as Merle becoming a zombie. The great shot that Greg has of you see Merle's eyes, you see everything that's been wiped away, because he was such a vibrant character.
Right.
Sophia coming out of the barn is crazy. I mean, if you told somebody, oh yeah, there's going to be this story about this little zombie girl after this huge zombie slaughter, and we're pursuing making people cry, they'd be like, I don't know about that. And to achieve that, I mean, that's been some of the most gratifying storytelling, where you're taking the genre, you're honoring the genre to tell just a super emotional story. I love it, and we do have. I mean, we pursue that throughout this entire season.
How are you gonna kind of balance? I mean, there are 4 big elements in play. You've got the introduction of the new characters. You've got to balance that with the continuation of the characters that we have established, more zombie love, and then the governor.
Well, I think. Oh, sorry. We're thinking about this is something that Scott and I talked about yesterday. Season 4. We're really looking at it as like our greatest hits. We've taken those great moments from the past seasons and sort of integrating them together. The season premiere of the original show that Frank Darabont brilliantly wrote and directed, you felt for even the walker that Rick leans over in the park and says, I'm sorry this happened to you. You feel compassion and sympathy. You're weeping when Morgan is aiming the gun at his undead wife. So what I love about where the season is going is that we've taken those moments and interspersed them with the great action set pieces. And the first episode alone, we have one action set piece that should have taken 3 months to shoot, and we shot it in 2 days, and it was astounding. Suddenly written by Scott. So, sorry,
directed by this gentleman. I mean, it was this crew, this cast to pull these things off. The producers that make it happen. You'll see in the first episode. You try to see it in a theater. I don't know. Bring a projector.
That's hard to do.
If they're doing it, we'll go.
Yeah.
I
was just going to address sort of, you brought up the whole sort of like how are we going to deal with the governor thing, and I think we're really sending you very mixed messages right now, because on the one hand he was on the panel, so you saw him there, David Morrissey's there in person, but you watch that trailer and he's not in it. So there's probably a message that's coming from that, but it's going to be a little bit confusing for you to figure out.
Well, I mean, we're assuming he's still a series regular, so we're assuming that he will come back at some point in some way. And the interesting thing, I think, is going to be, is there a redemption possible at all for this character? I don't know. I mean, it would be pretty amazing feat, if there is. Is that something that would be interesting to you, or does he need to remain more of a villain?
Listen, dramatically, it would be fascinating. You know, David would beg to differ. David Morrissey was like, he's not that bad of a guy.
Why do I need redemption? What are
It's
you
just
talking
misunderstood.
He said the funniest thing. He's like, well, you know, I did leave a couple people alive.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, you know, he didn't kill everyone in Woodbury. You know, when he opened fire,
I had my reasons for those guys.
he left one or two alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's not really that bad. He kept a few eggs.
In a land without morals, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to be part of the show. Tweet at IGN, hashtag SDCC, just like I had here. Anyways, the question comes from Sugar Ray. He says, do you guys regret having the show, comic, and game not share a single universe? Have you ever thought about that?
The comic show and the game?
Do you guys regret that it isn't one Walking Dead world where the comic and the show are happening in the same place?
No, I mean, you know, I think we made a very conscious decision very early on to have it be, you know, use the comic as sort of a series of milestones and hit some of the major benchmarks that come out of there. But we don't want it to be a slavish reinterpretation because as a fan of the comic, first and foremost, I'd be bored. I know what's coming, right? So the Daryl Dixon is one of the great characters on the show, but he's not in the comic book, right? And, you know, I think the way that John Bernthal's character got killed was a totally different version of it than how it happened in the comic. And that was some of the richest, greatest conflict on the show. So I feel like they have to sort of evolve and be organic, or otherwise you're forcing it too much.
And it's a great deal of fun to take that great stuff from the comic and put it in a different context.
Right.
Those big moments, still fulfilling them, but, you know, because we've gone further than the story has gone, or we have characters that we don't have in the book that are, we have characters in the book that are alive, that are dead, and, you know, it goes back and forth. And
It's hard to keep track of anymore.
Yeah.
You have like the spreadsheet.
I will say the show's a remix of the comic. It takes the great stuff, it puts it in different contexts. And even, I love that in the trailer, people are picking up like, oh, I know that moment from the comic.
Yeah.
And I see how it's changed. It's a lot of fun because you get to fulfill the stuff that Robert did.
Right.
And surprise fans of the book with it, but still fulfill an emotional story that might be a little different than the book. I love the video game. I love the video game so much, and I will say that people saw the Telltale video game. I like them both, but the
For different reasons.
The Telltale video game has such a wonderful story, and I will say we did point to Macon in the trailer, and the video game has a little bit to do with people who live in Macon.
I keep saying you got to get Dave Fennoy. Get Dave Fennoy in there somehow.
Just saying.
All right.
I'm not.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things people are wondering about, because it looks like, unless we have another Twitter, because it looks like
We're wrapping up. That's all.
Okay, well then forget it.
No, Walking Dead, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it looks like Tyrese and Rick are going to become friends, and one of the things, and I asked Robert Kirkman about this yesterday, because is Daryl going to kind of, I mean, is there going to be some tension between these three?
Are you talking about a love triangle?
I'm talking about a bromance.
Yeah, a bromance.
Triangle.
Oh no, you are close to cracking an amazing word.
Bro-tangle?
Bro-tangle.
Bro-tangle.
See,
Wow.
he cracked it before. There's
Wow, a bro
nickel in his
tangle.
pocket every time we say it now.
Damn, is there a bro-tangle?
Is there a bro-tangle?
I'm glad this is your final question. This is what we're ending on. This is the
That-
most important one.
This
pressure
is
is
terrible
on.
that this is what I ended on. I'm so ashamed. of myself.
I'll just say this: that moment gets bro-tangly.
There's another tease.
See what he did. Yeah.
Gentlemen, lady, thank you so much for coming to talk.
Thanks
Walking
for having
Dead.
us.
When's it back on the air?
October 13th.
13th.
Y'all had to look at each other.
Well, we just found out yesterday. So
I know
we're
you're trying to
like,
make the show too, so you have more important things to do.
Working through that word.
Yes.
13th.
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 13th, everybody. See it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.